American society is far too polite, and that politeness is crushing our spirit. Every single day, people in America put on that fake smile and they go out into the world and they fake it until they inevitably don't make it. Because, see, everyone's bought into that lie. If you just fake it, if you just act nice, if you just pretend to be polite to every single person you meet, if you fake it, you can make it to the top too. You could be one of the 1%. You could be in the wealthy, aristocratic class. And it's a lie. Because I promise you, the people who are at the top of the totem pole, they didn't fake being polite to get there. They just fucking got there. Your politeness is not going to help you get to the top of your industry. It's not going to help you get more real friends. And it's not going to help you make better, longer lasting, more fulfilling connections. It simply isn't. And the reason why it's not is because if you just evaluate how not only you act, but everyone around you acts, you can see that it's all for show. Nobody loves each other anymore. Nobody's stimulated by each other anymore. Is it any wonder why men and women both are turning to online pixelated versions of sex instead of going and pursuing each other? Is it any wonder? It's because people in America don't stimulate other people in America anymore. They don't stimulate each other for more than 5 minutes, and that's assuming that they're loaded on booze. And at that point, is it really the other person, or is it the fact that there's anybody at all moving in front of you? Anybody at all saying anything to you? Basically what I'm saying is, if you were at the club and you were full of booze, all you need is anything to show you attention, anything that has a heartbeat to be around you, and you'll feel stimulated. It could be a dog, it could be a parrot, it could be a cat, it could be anything. In fact, it could be a pretty piece of art. It doesn't have to be a person. Fuck, it could be an ugly piece of art, because it seems like that's the only type of art we make now is ugly art. Because we have no soul, because we are sexually repressed, because we are too polite. I see this all the time. People will say, "Hey, Nate, I really want your opinion on something." And then they ask me the question. And then as I begin to speak, they immediately cut in and say something. And I listen to see what they want to say, to see where their thought process is. And I listen. And then I try to bounce off of it and I get a few words out and then boom, cut me off again. And I don't have to allow myself to get cut off, but I do this pretty often because I just like to analyze. And I like to look at people when they do this. And I like to study and see what is going on in their heads when they're cutting me off after previously asking for my opinion on something. What is going on in their heads? What could they possibly be thinking right now? Well, the first thing I think to myself is they're not thinking anything. And that might be a good answer. But secondly, I consider that, wow, they really love the sound of their own voice. And then the third thing I consider is that, maybe they just asked me for my opinion because they really just wanted to give their opinion, but they wanted to do it in a polite way instead of just overtly shouting it out without any context or any framework. Maybe they just asked my opinion so that they could give theirs without looking like a douchebag. Maybe, just maybe. Because if you look at your own life, you'd probably find that to be true. People don't actually want your opinions on things. They just want to give their own opinion on things, and they want to do so without looking like a social cock. That's why they ask for your opinion. Or that's why they say, what do you think about this? They don't care. Trust me. Just like whenever people say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you're not. You're not sorry. You're not sorry at all. You're never going to be sorry. You were never sorry in the first place. And I don't want to hear, I'm sorry. None of us do. But we say I'm sorry because it's the right thing to do socially. It doesn't break the contract by refusing to say sorry. Because if we refuse to say sorry, if we refuse to say, oh, I'm sorry, I was talking with my friends for an extra 5, 10, 15 minutes, I wasted your time, I'm sorry. If we didn't say that, then we'd look like assholes. But that doesn't change the fact that we were acting like assholes. That doesn't change the fact that we were acting like pieces of shit and that we didn't respect that person's time in the first place. But all of a sudden, because we said sorry, All of a sudden that means something. I promise you it doesn't. Everything we say means nothing. All of it is empty. All of it is bland. It's vanilla. There's no flavor anymore. There's no sauce. There's no juice. It's gone. I mean, we're talking about Riz, for crying out loud. When it comes to romance and seduction, we're talking about Riz. We're talking about Riz. We can't even say the word charisma. We're talking about Riz. We're talking about Riz as in making some face, some really weird face, kind of like you're constipated, I think. That's what it looks like. Like you kind of have to take a shit, but you're happy about it, and you're kind of excited to get it out of your body because it's been brewing in there for a couple of days. That's Riz. Riz is acting all aloof and not saying anything to anyone. Riz is saying some line that is best akin to a word salad or a schizophrenic thought to a random person. Riz is our definition of charisma. I'm sorry, I'm lost. I need enlightened on this. But really, though, we use the term Riz. We use the term Riz. I mean, come on. The soul is gone. Our whole culture is full of memes. And the memes don't stick around. They're never supposed to. They were never supposed to, and they're never fucking gonna. They're never gonna. Is it any wonder why your friends don't stick around? And if they do, it's only because of convenience and because you're too scared to meet other friends. Is it any wonder? Is it any wonder why the art blows? Why every song sounds the same? Why every upcoming artist literally has the same voice as other artists? Not just the same flow, not just the same cadence, not just the same beat selection, not just the same lyrics, but the same fucking voice. As in, I can't distinguish you between Bryson Tiller and you. I can't distinguish you two. I can't distinguish you from The Weeknd and you. I can't distinguish it at all. There's nothing new about this. And I mean nothing. Like, this is AI, right? Oh, wait, no, you made the song? Oh, wait, no. That throws me for a loop. I can't do it. There's nothing authentic. There's nothing new. There's nothing unique. The soul's gone. And it's because we're repressed. Because we have to be polite all the time. We have to say niceties all the time. We have to say, oh, girl, you're so attractive. You're so pretty. When we know deep down inside of our hearts that we think she's ugly and that she's never going to be attractive. And that secretly we kind of like it that she's ugly and unattractive because that means more guys for us. You know what I'm saying, women. You know what I'm saying, ladies. I see it all the time in the Instagram comments. It's pretty easy to tell. And I respect the game, right? You want to get your social brownie points, but let's be honest. You love it that she's fat, and you love it that she's gaining weight. And in fact, you might have gotten her fat. You might have helped her get fat because you love it. Helps you out. I respect the hustle. But in any case, we really don't have a soul left, do we? We really don't have a soul left at all. And that's because we are so repressed. We don't allow ourselves to dive into fantasies. We do it through surrogates like rap and pop and dark R&B. We have surrogates of fantastical living, of popping pills and having penthouse sex and overlooking the city, taking balcony pool nights at the Abu Dhabi hotel, wherever we're staying. I don't know. We have surrogates to help us feel a feeling of this, as in we're twice removed from the actual feeling, but we don't do this in our everyday lives. We don't do this in our everyday lives at all, and we can. That's the thing that is sad, really. That's the thing that's sad, is whenever I talk to somebody, and I can see in their eyes that they want to break out of the mental prison they have willingly shackled themselves in, but they just don't. They're just not willing to cut that joke. They're not willing to push and pull. They're not willing to sit in a pool of tension. They're not willing to just let the shadow come out and play a little bit. They're not willing to say something overtly sexual. They're not willing to be subtle. They're not willing to make a hint that is definitely a little freaky. They're not willing to do it. Because if they do, they think they're going to be socially ostracized. But I ask you, why be a part of the social contract if the contract is bullshit? Why sign the contract? Why keep your name on the dotted line? And why uphold it if the terms and conditions don't suit your nature? if they don't suit your desires, if they don't make you feel fulfilled and happy and content and excited and alive and passionate and full of adventurous spirit, why uphold the terms and conditions? Why uphold them? Why maintain this appearance of nicety when you actually want to be mean? When you actually want to be a little aggressive, when you actually want to sit in that tension, when you actually want to fight a little bit, when you actually want to let it out, why sit in that politeness? Why do it? Well, my parents will say, well, my boss will say, oh, well, my friends won't like. Really? Other people? Those are the things holding you back? Those are the... Is it any wonder why suicides are at an all-time high? Is it any wonder why opiate addiction is at an all-time high and increasing by the day? Is it any wonder why Future just made a song called Plutoski, which is literally a song meant for a heroin addict? Is it any wonder why Juice WRLD was the most popular rapper during the SoundCloud era? No disrespect to his talent. He was remarkably talented. I love his music. But let's be frank here. Is it any wonder why that style of music is so popular? It's because we're repressed. It's because we're not willing to just be what we are. You know why people love animals? You know why people love dogs and cats, lions, tigers, bears, foxes? You know why they love sea lions and seals, why they love elephants and giraffes, panda bears and polar bears? You know why they love koalas and fish, sea turtles and oxen? People love animals because animals are what they are. They're both beautiful and cruel. A tiger is gorgeous. A leopard is magnificent in the way that it moves, the way that it runs, the way that it jumps. But sometimes it jumps and runs to kill something. Sometimes it jumps and runs in order to leap on the back of a gazelle just to rip it to shreds. The bear is magnificent whenever it stands by the river, whenever it sits in the water, towering over the rocks, until a fish jumps up, and then wham! It catches that salmon. It feasts right there on the banks of the river. A moose is magnificent whenever it's standing in the icy tundra, surrounded by snow and tall trees, but it's fucking terrifying when it's running at you full speed. It is fucking terrifying. A polar bear, the same way. Majestic, out in the tundra ice. And if that thing's trying to kill you, that's a fucking demon. That's why animals are so fascinating. That's why we love them. It's because they are what they are. They're unapologetic. They are bold, and they don't give a fuck. And granted, that's for good reason, because they don't have this neocortex. But I would argue that the neocortex holds us back, because we give it far too much weight. We think rationally, quote unquote, too much, when we're not rational creatures at all. We have the capacity to be rational, but to be quite frank, most of our rationality is just rationalizing the things that we want to do, the things that are emotionally pleasing. But we don't give into that enough. And I think it's time we start, because this society is stale. The art blows. The people are fucking bland. We're understimulated and overstimulated at the same time. And quite frank, I think we could get rid of the fucking phones if the people were just more fucking interesting. But now they're not. And, people are so afraid of AI taking over their jobs. Right? AI taking over their jobs. Well, yeah, some people should be afraid. In fact, a lot of people should be fucking afraid, because the AI is more human than you are. It has more emotion than you are. It'll actually crack a joke. If you ask it to tell a joke, it will. It'll say something funny every once in a while. But you won't. Because you're so fucking bottled up, you won't say shit. You're just ready to explode. You're just ready to burst. Is there any wonder why domestic violence is at an all-time high? Especially during the pandemic. Put people inside of a house. Stale and repressed. Any wonder why people are getting beat left and right? Is it any wonder why children are being neglected? Come on now. The answer's right in front of us. We need to learn how to channel these things properly, to channel our natural desires properly. I'm not saying we should be consumed by them. I'm not saying that we should dive all the way in and drown ourselves in this pool of hedonism. No, I think that's a terrible way to go. And in fact, if we do that, society's ruined. We'll fall just like Rome. We'll fall just like Constantinople. We'll fall like every great power in history. We'll fall like Persia. We'll fall like Athenia or Athens. We'll fall like the Greeks. We'll fall like every single great power in history, like Babylon, like Israel. We'll fall like all of them. But if we don't find a way to channel this, we're going to fall too. It's just going to be a little bit slower and more painful. So I ask you, which one would you rather have? Quick and painful or slow and painful? I'd rather have quick and painful. You know what they say, rip the Band-Aid off, right? If we're going to do it, we might as well do it. So why are we dragging this out any longer? Why don't we just pick full-on hedonism or full-on repression? Why not? Because we're kind of towing this line where we want to be hedonistic, but we also want to be super repressed. And I don't get it. Let's pick a direction and let's just settle on it. If we're going to fall, let's pick the way we're going to fall. Slow and painful or quick and also painful, but not as painful. You decide. I don't give a shit, but I know that this society could be way better if we just decided to not look at ourselves as these fucking supercomputers when we're not. I mean, you're dumb and you know it. I'm dumb and I know it. I'm the first one to admit that I could be a real idiot sometimes. So what's it going to be? That's for you to decide. Because quite frankly, I don't give a shit anymore. Have a blessed day. This is the New Da Vinci.